Coming up on today's Next Fan Up podcast.
This kid is cooler than a cucumber up a you-know-what's butt. I'm telling you, I'm still going to sacrifice a live goat at halftime.
It's been a long time since this podcast has been rolling, and it is kind of fun to listen to. So I was just sitting back eating some popcorn there.
It's the week 10, or is that the weekend? That guy's missing an E in his name. It's the Next Fan Up podcast. Here we go.
That's how we start! Yeah, baby!
32 super fans.
Where do the reports come from? Did you get an initial?
One pod Vader.
That's football.
Every angle of the NFL covered.
All that kind of stuff, I get it.
This,
no question about it,
is Next Fan Up.
We're going to unleash hell here in December.
Hello and welcome to the weekend edition of the Next Fan Up podcast. Hey, everybody. It's the weekend edition because that's who's going to be singing at the Super Bowl this year. We'll talk about that in just a second. But really what I want to talk to you about is what's happening in week 10 of the NFL. And to do that, I, Pod Vader, am joined by the super fans as always. Our regular on Thursdays is Eagles James. Hello, James.
Hey, Pod. Hey, guys. Hopefully no games get canceled to force a 16-team playoff. I don't want to see that.
No, I don't. But as we usually find out, there'll be some breaking COVID news by the time our podcast is already done and uploading. And so just keep your eyes open for all the
I'm looking at you, Pittsburgh
stuff.
and Philadelphia and Baltimore.
Oh, also joining us this week is our Raiders superfan, Monty. Hello, Monty.
Hey guys, I heard Neil was not going to be able to make it, so I thought I might be able to jump in and make the tease opening up the show. So we'll see how that goes.
It's usually a good bet that you will probably be in the tease at some point. Also joining us, as per usual, he is our award-winning gridiron chef, Doc. Hey, Doc, how's it going?
Gentlemen, good to be with you. And this chaos is, I love talking NFL because food and sports are keeping this S show together, aren't they?
Yes, they are. This week, Atlanta, Dallas, Kansas City, and the New York Jets are on the bye, although at some point I will probably say that the Raiders were on a bye last week. That's my go-to team when I'm questioning what teams are on a bye. And we're going to do things a little bit differently, and we're going to kick it off with your recipe right off the bat. Doc, what do you got cooked up for us this week?
Oh, thanks, Pod. Well, listen, twice a year as we head into turkey season, and we're hoping, first off, everybody's going to be able to gather in part with their family. But as everybody breaks out the bird, I release my Gridiron Chef 5-fruit turkey-loving relish. And the story behind this one, this was served way back 40, 50 years ago at the Waldorf Astoria. It's kind of been re-engineered. I messed around with it, but it is so good. People that try it never go back to cranberry sauce or fresh cranberries. And so if you want, I can tell you how to do it real simple. And by the way, it's great on vanilla ice cream, according to a former mayor that I have to deliver this to every Christmas. So if you want, I can walk you through it because it's a little complicated, but essentially it's just a fruit relish, and you guys can use it for any white meat, ice cream, anything, but well endorsed by a lot of people. So it'll liven up your Thanksgiving table.
What are the 5 fruits?
First off, we got to boil some cranberries, just one bag. Cool. If you want, you can double and triple this recipe. You know, it keeps in the fridge with the alcohol because there's booze in it as a preservative. Keeps in the fridge for several weeks. Boil the cranberries, set them aside. With the peel intact, cut your apples into a small dice, add them to the bowl. Use a zester. Everybody should have a zester, and get some lemon or get some orange zest. Take the one orange and zest it directly into the apples. Peel half of the second orange because we want some of the orange attached to the peel. It gives it a little bit of a bitterness, but it's the same as orange zest. Peel half the second orange and then leave the peel intact for the remainder. Cut it into a small dice. So you're going to essentially, at that point, you're going to have 2 oranges in the bowl. Use the zester again, zest the lemon, add the zest to the bowl, half the lemon, and then juice the lemon halves into the bowl. Gives it that vitamin C. The apples won't turn brown. And then go back, add your canned, this is the other fruit is canned pineapple, but I like fresh personally. If I can get a ripe pineapple, you can add the equivalent amount, but add a medium can of canned pineapple. There's a sugar and sweetness to it, or you can use fresh to the bowl. Add 3 ounces of the alcohol, and the alcohol is some form of orange liqueur. I like Grand Marnier. You can use triple sec or any other orange liqueur and soak that into the fruit. And then what you do is take 1 cup of sugar and you drizzle the 1 cup of sugar over the fruit and the booze and let it sit intact for about an hour. And then you re-stir it, remix it, and throw it in the fridge for a day. You can put it in mason jars, but that is delicious. And it's, again, called Gridiron Chef's 5-fruit turkey love and cranberry relish. Also good on vanilla ice cream.
That sounds fantastic. I also thought you were going to say when it comes to the alcohol, you put what's required into the recipe and then you take a swig for yourself.
Yes. Well, in the column, it says 3 ounces up to 5 ounces. Okay. And of course, a dram for yourself. So,
okay. Perfect. Up to 5 ounces. Okay. Anything over 5 ounces is just overdoing it.
Well, then you get an unbalance. You really want the sugar and the alcohol really is what makes this. I think the pineapple and the zest. A lot of people don't zest fruit, and really, you zest a lemon or a lime or an orange, and man, it adds just Sprite to it, you know. So, no, it's there's your fruits, and rather than just traditional cranberry, you get all the flavor of the fruits and the booze and the sugar. I totally endorse it. I have to make about 25 jars, large mason jars of this at Christmas, and it's my Christmas giveaway to my cooking friends, and they request it every year. So I endorse it and suggest it's simple. So give it a try, and your family.
Yeah, Monty, balance. But that was the key word there, balance with the alcohol.
I like Granny as much as the next guy, but that's not going to be my go-to move. I will say, Doc, and I want you to weigh in on this. Is it just me, or is turkey overrated? I'm going to go for prime rib this year, especially in a modified 2020. I'm breaking all the rules. No turkey this year. I'm going prime rib. Is that acceptable to you?
Yeah, absolutely. My sister does that down in Detroit, but I'll tell you this, Monty. Listen, if you can muck around with a turkey, I'm going to tell you how to make the best simple stock I have ever tasted in my life. A smoked Cajun injected turkey. And if you make stock from that carcass, you'll be drinking it till the cows come home. No pun intended. So if you can use the whole bird, right? You know, I'm a dark meat fan, but if you can use the whole bird, inject it with a Cajun butter, smoke it or grill it, you get all those flavors I love to make a lot of stock, and freeze it. So, but if you can use the whole turkey and then make turkey stock, that smoked Cajun turkey stock is unmatched. And it is simply my favorite food in the world, outside of red meat, of course. But you can't go wrong with red. What kind of beef you doing? Prime rib?
Yeah, I'm hoping for some prime rib. Turkey's overrated.
How you doing it? How you doing your prime rib?
I got to poke around. This will be the first time. I'm still lobbying the family to break tradition and get away from the bird. I've tried brining it overnight. I've tried, sticking my hand up between the skin and the meat with a bunch of herbed butter, and people seem to like that, but it's just too much. You just get a nice prime rib, throw it in the oven. Let's get down to basics.
Yeah, well, if you need any hints, I got some great rubs I just got sent from Texas. I actually did a prime rib last week. No, it was a bottom round. And I got this incredible bourbon salt. And you can marinate meat dry. You can do that overnight in the fridge.
You said the key phrase. You said bourbon. That's all Monty needed to hear.
Yeah.
And there's no restrictions on how much bourbon. There's none of this 5 ounce madness. We just lean into it, right?
Oh yeah, bourbon salt. And so you can salt it just like the brine. It sucks some moisture out, but that bourbon salt, you can keep it on there, and all the moisture goes back into the meat. You always have a tender piece of prime rib. That's no problem. Mine, I had to be very careful, and it was tremendous. Unfortunately, I screwed it up. I did a red wine gravy, and I didn't wash the bourbon salt off, so my girlfriend thought it was a little too salty. But yeah, there's a million ways to muck up prime rib, but it's real simple. And if you got a grill, I suggest you use your grill. Nothing wrong with the oven, but we still got a little bit of sunshine here, and grill as much as you can. So
my grill is under 8 inches of snow right now, and it looks like it's snowing right now. So the autumn wind is making its way into
the autumn wind is already
November and December snow, the frozen tundra.
There you go.
Love the fact that it's the frozen tundra in Minnesota right now, and New England is just getting out of this 70-degree Indian summer that went into November, which is not supposed to happen.
I'm no meteorologist, Pod, but I got a feeling that this is all heading your way.
Can't wait. That sounds like fun. Hey,
either that or rain from the south.
Hurricanes that are going into alphabets we didn't even know existed. So it's a lovely time, 2020. Emails, nextfanup@gmail.com. We got a couple of emails. This first one comes to us from David. It says, hello, I can help your website to get on first page of Google and increase number of oh, that's not a real email. Oh, sorry. I was all excited there that David sent us an email. Now, I did get a real email here from Gary. It says, hi all, just wanted to say I'm really enjoying the podcast again this year. What do you mean again? Like you weren't enjoying the podcast last year, Gary? What's that all about? Thursday or Friday in the UK shows have been brilliant. I think you should definitely keep talking about the Eliminator Challenge group each week, as this is the first time I got this far, and I can't believe I'm still in. I have the Packers over the Jags this week, so I'm surely safe for another week until you find out that I also have the Packers as my lock of the week, and then you might want to get a little concerned, Gary. I think your 49er superfan needs to be a bit more, needs to put a bit more effort in. I don't think I've heard from him all season. Charlie's gone AWOL, Gary. I don't know where Charlie is.
We haven't heard from Charlie since before the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Charlie may have, I don't know.
And he pretty much tagged out during the game.
Gary adds, P.S. Neil makes me laugh out loud at least once every episode, which is pretty good going. Thank goodness Neil isn't here, so his head could get bigger.
Oh, gosh. That's the last thing we need. He's going to be insufferable next time he's on.
All right. Thanks, Gary, for sending us that note. And yes, I'm going to guess Gary is Niner Gary in the Eliminator group that we have on ESPN.com, and that is one of the 3 teams still alive in our Eliminator Challenge as being perfect so far this year, along with Dozer 1375 and These Picks Stink from JCM 9572. They are
my picks stink like his.
Those are the ones that are still perfect in our Eliminator Challenge, and there's still a bunch of us, despite not being perfect, that are still making picks. So why not? You can still put in a lock, and I still follow the rules. I will not take a team I've already picked in the previous part of the season. What else do I have here?
This week.
That's the easy one, right? Yeah. Pigskin Pick'em, I had a much better week. Got 10 straight up. The power rankings only got 9, but 12 was the winner in our Pigskin Pick'em group on ESPN.com, and that was by Sin City Picks. So good job by him. Against the spread, I got 7, which is still better than what I had been doing, and it's over 50%. So I will take it. Monty, how are you doing in the Pigskin Pick'em so far?
Not very well in the Pigskin Pick'em. I've actually gotten bumped a couple times in the Eliminator, but the Raiders are doing well, so let's focus on the positive.
We are now officially into the second half of the season, gentlemen. And so usually when we hit this particular point, we like to do a little bit of the midseason awards, but I feel like some of the midseason awards are already set. For instance, the MVP, James and I had this conversation, I think, last week on the NFL Sound Off podcast. There's no one beating Russell Wilson at this point. Russell Wilson would have to lose all of the rest of the games this season for him not to win the MVP, because you know why? He has never received a vote for the MVP in all of his career.
Well, if he plays anymore like he did against Buffalo, he may have competition soon.
I don't think so. I think all he needs to do is get his team to the playoffs, and that award is his.
I'm gonna need him to do better than what he did against the Bills, though. That he's already done that twice this year against the Bills and the Cardinals. Any more games like that, I'm start questioning it.
Do we have any other candidates in mind?
Well, I know that James wants to throw out Derek Carr, but I would say Kyler Murray is playing pretty effectively out in the desert.
I don't have a knock against Kyler Murray. My only problem with this MVP award is that we so often want to give it to a quarterback. I'm looking at a couple of running backs now, be it the obvious one, Derrick Henry, and not so obvious because the team is trash, is Dalvin Cook. So I'd be looking at them towards the second half of the season, especially with Derrick Henry. Second half of the season, he typically turns it up a notch. The team leans on him a little bit more, and defenses don't want to touch him in November and December.
And I think I mentioned for a non-quarterback, I think I mentioned DK Metcalf as a guy who's really making the Russell Wilson stats pop. And when DK Metcalf goes off, so does Russell Wilson. And perhaps DK Metcalf is a better candidate for the most valuable player. I would add, and Doc is going to be joining us in and out on this podcast, but I would add Michael Thomas to that list, because when Michael Thomas wasn't there, Drew Brees looked terrible. And when Michael Thomas comes back, all of a sudden, Drew Brees looks a little bit better.
He hasn't played enough, though. I mean, I don't know how many games he missed. I would just throw out there, since Jordan did double duty on the Superfan Thursday night preview show, what about his quarterback, Tannehill? Can we put Ryan Tannehill in that conversation? That old Oilers team is looking pretty solid in the AFC South.
How about a defensive player of the year? Who do we got ranked up there so far? Any Raider you want to mention there,
the defense,
Mr. Monty?
oh my God, the defense is atrocious. I've got no comment there. Aaron Donald, I vote for every year. That guy's an animal.
I mean, can we give it to somebody besides Aaron Donald? Like, gosh, I want to throw I want to throw a name out for Pittsburgh, but their defense is a collective effort.
Well, in terms of, if we're going to talk about Aaron Donald, who is tied for the league in sacks, the other guy is Myles Garrett. I can see that went over like a ton of bricks.
I mean, yeah, it's just, look, a lot of times these player of the year MVP awards, they never go to teams with losing records.
I think the Browns are 5-3. You're saying they're going to end up with a losing record?
Well, it's the Browns, so they could, Brown's going to do what Brown's going to do.
I just think Donald does it from the inside, right up the gut. I mean, for him to get that many sacks from the inside is it's insane. The guy is an animal.
How about rookies? Offensive rookie of the year.
I mean, just because Ken's such a good guy, I think we got to at least talk about his boy Irby. But it's probably going to go to Burrow, don't you think? When's the last time a non-quarterback won Rookie of the Year for the offense?
That's also fair.
Saquon Barkley.
That's true.
I believe was the last non-quarterback to win a Rookie of the Year. Josh Jacobs should have won it his rookie year, but
they gave it to Kyler.
No, the rookie. Edwards-Helaire in Kansas City, doing a real good job. he could have a claim at Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to Justin Herbert.
Again, the go-to for quarterbacks just because they're quarterbacks. And I get it. They're rookies. They're not supposed to have winning records. And yes, Herbert's playing very well despite the team around him choking at the most inopportune times.
Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Boy, that's a tough one,
isn't it?
Yeah, I'm blanking on that one.
Doc, you have any candidates?
Herbert.
Well, that's all.
For defensive Rookie of the Year.
Oh, you're talking. Oh, you're talking about defensive.
Defense, yeah.
I'm gonna wait to the end of the season on that one. I don't know. I think. Yeah, I'd have to think about it, to be honest with you. I think you were talking offensive.
Chase Young seems like the front runner, but what about Antoine Winfield's kid out in Tampa Bay?
Oh, yeah.
Both those guys have been playing pretty solid.
There's one. Yeah.
What's he got?
Good
4
candidates
so far this season, top of the league.
He made a couple game-winning plays too. Dude takes after the old man, and I gotta like Antoine Winfield.
This one, I think, is going to be a little bit more divisive amongst us. Coach of the Year.
You know what? If they win a division and make the playoffs, I don't even care if they're the 4th seed. Your boy Vrabel, I would give a vote to.
Oh, you stole my thunder, James, because Vrabel is the guy I was going to throw out there. How dare you? Now I have to say his team is still undefeated. Mike Tomlin has got to be a front runner in this regard.
I would lock in Mike Tomlin if they make it to say 10 or 11 in a row without losing. Like if the first L comes after week 13, you'd have to lock it up for Tomlin.
Monty?
What about Buffalo Sauce boy over there? Is it McDermott out in Buffalo?
Yeah.
Buffalo 7-2. I know that division isn't what it used to be, but that's still a good jump. They should make some noise in the playoffs this year.
True.
Doc?
I'd go with Flores right now.
Yeah, that's who else I was going to bring up.
I think
if they make the playoffs.
Yeah, if you look, great call. If you look at them last year, guys, they were setting defensive inept records, and all of a sudden, in 10 months they've turned it around. He's doing a bang up job, regardless of what Tua does, and so he's my pick.
Yeah, it's funny what a bunch of Patriots will do for your defense.
Yeah,
really.
A couple of useless stats before we jump into the Pigskin Pick'em. Because these useless stats may help you in your Pigskin Pick'em. There might be something to fans in the stands and home field advantage because road teams went 9-5 straight up in week 9. That brings the season record of home teams to 65, 67-1, under 500. Road teams are 71-62 against the spread. It's kind of crazy. This neutral field thing, how much the fans actually do make a difference in regards to how the outcome of games comes. Or is it overblown? Or is this just the year there's a whole bunch of really good teams and a whole bunch of really bad teams?
It's hard to say. This year is weird. I'd be curious to know, I think the rule of thumb is 3 points Vegas gives when they're picking the point spread or whatever. When they're laying down the line. And I know there's teams still have to travel and there's a little bit of logistics that go into that. I'd be wondering if that number has moved at all, or instead of giving a team a full 3 points for being the home team, if they've moved it to 2 or 1.5 just because there are no fans.
I think they're still keeping it at 3 for whatever reason. That might definitely have an impact on underdogs winning as prevalently as they are, especially road
covering the spread.
Right. Well, the other thing is we've noted, and I don't have the stat here, but this has been one of the closest seasons to date. I think this is the fourth closest season in terms of final score, number of scores that finish with only a one score differential. It's been kind of a nutty season in that regard, and it's still the highest scoring campaign in NFL history through 9 weeks. No other season has produced more points, 6,737, or touchdowns, 778 so far.
If you take out all the games that the Chargers have fallen on their face by less than one score, I mean, that's got to be back to normal year-over-year numbers if you just eliminate the Chargers.
Well, I'll give you a
You're eliminating their whole season, not just the games they've lost by one score. They've lost every game by one score.
Well, there's also Atlanta, which has done it, 3 times this season with a big lead and then losing. And then I'll give you a tease. There's a stat on this regarding the Chicago Bears who are playing on Monday night. You'll have to wait till the end of the podcast to get that particular stat. All right, so let's jump into the Pigskin Pick'em. The Thursday game we're not going to go too far into because we already covered it on the Thursday night preview edition of this particular podcast. However, a couple of updates. Adoree Jackson was, in fact, activated from the IR, but he is not expected to play this evening against the Colts. Also, Corey Davis, the wide receiver, who's had a couple of breakout weeks here, his brother unfortunately died from a battle with cancer, and it is unknown whether he will be active tonight. My guess is he probably will, but he's obviously got a lot on his mind, and our thoughts and prayers to the Davis family. Any other injury updates here on this one, James?
Adam Humphries is going to miss the game due to concussion protocol. Michael Pruitt, the tight end for the Titans, also going to miss the game with a knee sprain. And for the Colts, Mo Ali Cox is questionable. He has a knee injury, and Jack Doyle is out. He too is in concussion protocol.
When I did the show for the Thursday night preview, the spread was 2.5 in favor of the Titans. It is now even, so the spread has moved quite a bit in favor of the Colts. The Colts are 11th in our power rankings. The Titans are 8th. And as far as I can see, we are all taking the Titans. Doc, you got the Titans or the Colts in this one?
Colts.
Well, you're the only one. You're on an island.
No, I think regardless of the injuries, I think that that defense is a little unsung right now. And their special teams are good. This George Odom kid is playing lights out. He's probably the best special teamer in the league right now. I just think that this anomaly, this Titans hit and miss with the curses of the world continues. They're not getting pressure the way they should. And when you keep that lame arm upright, I think this is a chance for the Colts offense to do good things. And I think that D speaks for itself. I'm taking the Colts.
It is now the number one defense in terms of yards allowed. So the Colts are tough. But if Mike Vrabel wants to be coach of the year, he's got to win this game. There you go.
Yeah, I think Pod, unless they get a pass rush, they're not even a top 4 team ever in the AFC right now with the way the quarterbacks are playing. I just think that they have busted so many. Javon Curse he's a bust. You know, the money they paid, it's just been a joke. It's been the biggest black guy in the defensive side of the ball in the NFL this year. But if they had a pass rush, I think they'd be a top 4 AFC team, but not right now.
All right, then.
That's probably where I disagree with Doc. They're generating pressure. They're just not getting sacks because, again, they only have 10 on the year, which is 29th in the league. And to Doc's point, yeah, that's a problem. You're not finishing the job, but they are forcing quarterbacks into bad decisions. So, the pressure rate is among some of the best in the league. They're just not finishing the job. And, Javon Curse, he's not getting to the quarterback at all. he's a big help in the run game. I'll say that much. I mean, very little gets outside of him when he's out there on the edge and when he's healthy, but he's just not getting to the quarterback at all this year.
All right. Too much time on the Thursday night game. Let's go to the Sunday games, kicking off at 1:00. And we are starting with the Houston Texans at the Cleveland Browns. The Texans dropped in our power rankings to 27. The Browns remained steady at 14. Vegas has the Browns favored by 3 in this one. Monty, you are taking the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I mean, I like Deshaun Watson. I think he's an awesome quarterback. Once the wheels start falling off and then people start getting angry and the locker room starts to fall apart. I think I saw some stories about J.J. Watt's going to get traded. He's not going to finish out his career in Houston. I think that team is they're ready to start packing it in. I'd just be surprised. And the Browns are still in the thick of things. Like we had talked about Myles Garrett. I think Nick Chubb might be coming back. He's at least practicing. I think their running game is going to give the Houston Texans all they can handle, and it's in Cleveland. So,
how is the injury report looking there, James, in regards to Nick Chubb?
Well, Nick Chubb is not listed. He is expected to play. I will say, though, another running back, David Johnson, for the Texans, is not expected to play. He is in concussion protocol. Other than that, the only other big names is Cleveland Browns offensive lineman Wyatt Teller, Joe Bitonio, and J.C. Treader. That's the entire interior guard, center guard, are showing up on the injury report, all questionable, along with Jack Conklin, their tackle. For the Houston Texans, Senio Kilamedi, their guard, and Dylan Cole, linebacker, also show up on the injury report.
I will tell you that I'm always the guy that looks at the defensive stats, and specifically these averages. The Browns allow 29.6 points per game, but the Texans allow 30.3. The Browns have a +4 takeaway giveaway ratio. The Texans have a -4, but what's really outstanding about that is the Browns have 14 takeaways. The Texans only have 5 turnovers so far this season on the defensive side of the ball. For fantasy purposes, Deshaun Watson does have 4 touchdowns and only 1 pick in 2 career games versus Cleveland. Baker Mayfield threw for a career-high 397 yards in his last meeting against the Texans, which was in 2018. And the Texans won that game, as they have won the past 5. But you guys have made a reasonable enough argument for me to go with the Texans. And talking about pressure, as I mentioned before, Myles Garrett is tied for the league lead with 9 sacks, Doc.
Love it. I think that Cleveland is lipstick on a pig right now. Efficiency, they're not even top 15 in the league in either category. But I think they get pressure on Watson. And as long as Baker doesn't poop the bed, I think Cleveland takes this. I think I don't know if you guys heard what happened with the Texans this week, but they fired their vice president of public relations and have been taking it on the chin publicly. I don't know. I think
from players on the team too.
I know disarray. It's in disarray right now, and I think Cleveland is. I think they're happy to have the record they are with the lack of efficiency overall as a team they've been playing. But if Baker can play average, I think this is at least a field goal win for the Browns.
All right. The Washington football team is at the Detroit Lions. Washington falls to 29 in the power rankings. The Lions moved up to 23. And Vegas has decided that the Lions are 3-point favorites. James?
Oh, gosh. Look, you're talking about 2 teams in total chaos right now. I mean, Alex Smith is going to be starting this week for Washington. Congratulations to him.
He wins comeback player of the year. That one's done, so we don't have to worry about that award either.
Yeah, no, I don't think he does. Get into that later. But yeah, look, congrats. Circumstances suck, but the offense of Washington bothers me, from the onset, really. After week one, because Philadelphia basically crapped the bed defensively and just let them do whatever they wanted, this offense has been wildly inconsistent. For his time that he was in there, Kyle Allen still didn't even look comfortable in an offense he supposedly knew that was brought over from Carolina when he was there. And I don't think this offense works for the personnel they have. They have speed on the outside at wide receiver that they're not able to take advantage of on a regular basis. And it's a mixed bag in the backfield because I still don't know who the lead back is. I mean, there's a guy who starts every single game, but they rotate him every other play. So there's too many moving pieces on this offense right now. Defense will come along. The front seven is okay. I mean, Chase Young is playing well when he's healthy, but Ryan Kerrigan is missing in action. I don't know where he is right now. On the flip side, we've already talked about Detroit, and, this little bounce back of theirs may save Patricia's job, but I can't be happy about either one of these squads if I'm a fan, really.
Doc, what do you think of the Lions in Washington? These two teams met on Thanksgiving last year, and Washington came away with the victory.
Well, Washington defense is good enough. They're going to keep it close, even if Stafford and company have a good day. But I think this is one of those games. This will be the nail in the coffin for the Lions coach. They got to win this game. And if everybody's healthy, I think they got enough horses to do so. But I'm very impressed with the Washington defense. They're top 7 in most categories. So, but I'll take Stafford at home by 4 points.
Yeah, we've detailed how the rocket scientist has made his bones on the defensive side of the ball, and yet the defense of the Detroit Lions has been just downright bad. 392 yards allowed per game, a -2 takeaway giveaway with only 7 takeaways. It's just not good. Now, Matthew Stafford, on the other hand, continues to play, like Matthew Stafford. You would expect Matthew Stafford. He has, let's see here. He averages 2 touchdowns per game versus Washington in 4 career starts. And he has 3+ touchdowns in 5 of his past 6 at home. And he's looking for his 3rd in a row at home with 3+ touchdowns. Alex Smith, though, my favorite, my guy. I'm pulling for Alex Smith every single time he steps out onto that field. Had 3 touchdowns, including 2 passing, 1 rushing in his last game versus Detroit, but that was back in 2015, and he was playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. But I do think Alex Smith has got enough weapons around him that I think the Washington football team can win a 19-16 game, which was the score on Thanksgiving last year, Monty.
I think it was Alex Smith's first full week of practicing with the starters. He'd always been listed as the backup, so we'll see if he can actually move that offense. But I think a lot of this is going to come down to, at least from a Matthew Stafford perspective, is Kenny G, superstar wide receiver. I don't think he played last week, or at least he didn't finish the game, and I'm not sure if he's going to play this week.
What's that injury report say, James?
Kenny Galladay does show up with a hip injury. He's listed as questionable, along with Jeff Okudah, Tracy Walker, Jamal Agnew, Christian Jones, Jaron Curse, Nick Williams, Danny Shelton, and Terrell Crosby. By the way, I think all but 2 of those players are either linebackers or linemen on offense or defense. So, line play is going to be very key in this game for Detroit. For Washington, the big name showing up are Dontrell Inman, wide receiver, and Antonio Gibson, running back. Neither practice on Wednesday and are listed as questionable for this week.
All righty. The next game on the docket is the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Green Bay Packers. Jaguars have fallen to 30th in our power rankings. The Packers have fallen to 7th. So this is a very good team versus a very bad team. And Vegas is favoring the Packers by 13.5 points. Kansas City quarterback Patrick Mahomes is 2nd in the NFL with 25 touchdowns. And Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay quarterback, is third with 24. Mahomes only has one pick this season. Rodgers only has two, and they are the only two quarterbacks in the league with at least 20 touchdown passes and fewer than 5 interceptions so far this season. Last week, Mahomes became the sixth player to throw his 25th touchdown pass before throwing his third interception of the season in NFL history. Rodgers has accomplished the feat once before in 2018 and could do it again on Sunday, which would join Tom Brady, who did it in 2007 and 2016 as the only players in league history to do so in 2 seasons. That was a long way of me saying that the Packers are the lock of the week. I don't know if I'm going to lock them in at 13.5 points, though. I might take the Jaguars with 13.5 points, but the Packers are going to win this game. They shouldn't have any problems with the Jaguars. I don't imagine any of you guys have an argument otherwise to say differently.
Well, I think the Packers cover the spread. This game is a blowout.
James?
Yeah, no, I mean, I could be funny and talk about how the Jaguars could win this game, but Gardner Minshew is going to be out, so that's pretty much all I need to know. The quarterback.
That's a bonus.
I mean,
that's a positive.
Luton is going to start again at quarterback. I wasn't overly impressed because, again, he was playing the Texans last week. Their defense is not that good. If the Packers jump up 14-0, they'll dominate this game much like they did their last outing, which was against the Niners and their backup quarterback. If the Jaguars somehow muck this game up and run the ball consistently, effectively, then the Packers are in trouble. And that's the only knock I have on the Packers going into the playoffs. When they run into a team that decides to pin their ears back and run the football, they're not going to be up to task. The defense is not that good against the run. But yeah, Laviska Shenault also shows up on the injury report for the Jaguars. Those are the big ones for the Packers. Kevin King, Darius Shepard, Mercedes Lewis, Equanimous St. Brown, and Jair Alexander all listed as questionable.
Doc, I'll throw this to you because I keep hearing this narrative in the national media. The Packers don't have any weapons. Rodgers only has Devontae Adams. The rest of his wide receivers suck. My team and the New York Jets team will gladly take any of the other wide receivers on the Green Bay Packers. There's nothing wrong with the Packers wide receiving core whatsoever.
Devontae Adams is having a Mike Thomas type of year relationship with his quarterback, right? Look at Mike Thomas, unguardable. Devontae Adams right now is within a week or two going to be in the talk for offensive MVP in the NFL. They got it going on. They got something going on, right? He doesn't need any of the other ones. Scanlon, anybody. It doesn't matter who's there. Play the system, rely on Devontae. They'll be fine. But I think, James, you hit it right. They got Walmart-size holes. And again, the O-line for the Vikings made that very apparent. But if you're right, if you can run the ball, you can stay in the game. But I just think can't guard Devontae, can't guard Mike. It's the same thing we saw last year with Breeze and Mike Thomas. You're seeing that with the Packers now. So
the Philadelphia Eagles will be at the New York Giants. The Eagles have fallen to 25th in the power rankings. The Giants have actually moved up to 28th in the power rankings, but that's not enough for the power rankings to take them. The power rankings will stick with the Eagles. Vegas is taking the Eagles as well. They are a 3.5 point favorite in this one. And I will tell you, James, to let you break this down, lead you in, that the Eagles have swept the Giants the last 4 years.
Woo. Not my concern. My concern is the quarterback and turnovers. Consistency on offense. I hope this bye week has done some good for Carson Wentz, the quarterback's coach, the offensive coordinator, the head coach, as far as how they call plays, what he sees on the field. Hopefully somebody in that meeting room this week has decided, let's lean on the run a little bit more than we have. Miles Sanders should be back this week. Give him the rock. Turn him loose. Something, but just stop trying to feature Carson Wentz. Look, you made it looks like a horrible decision, but this hopefully is just the worst year of his career statistically playing quarterback, because each of the previous 3 seasons, he's only thrown 7 picks. And so far he's at 10, 12? This year he's league leader in interceptions, league leader in turnovers. We're winning in spite of his play, and it's unnerving to watch at times. So Giants are a division opponent. I'm pretty sure they're still salty about the last time we played in that Thursday night game where they blew a lead. We won by a point. I expect another close game, but it won't be if Carson can take care of the ball and play up to the level that we're familiar with him playing.
Carson Wentz, 12 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Daniel Jones, only 8 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. So while Wentz is technically thrown for more interceptions than Daniel Jones, he at least is even in terms of his touchdown production.
Yay. Daniel Jones also leads his team in rushing.
By the way, I mentioned this the first time the Eagles and the Giants met. Maybe you want to give the rock to Boston Scott. He loves playing the Giants because he's looking for his 4th in a row with 90-plus scrimmage yards and a touchdown. Boston Scott loves playing the Giants. He produces against the Giants.
Every running back on the Eagles roster produces against the Giants. They just don't give them the ball enough. I don't understand what this whole thing about, deciding how and when they call plays, but there's no commitment to the run, especially when they decide to pass on first down and Wentz is taking a sack. So now you're already in 2nd and 15 to 2nd and 20, and you eliminate any option to run the football on 2nd down. And that is a problem. I want to see more running on first down. If there's going to be passes on first down, they need to be quick 3-step drops, snap, release. It needs to be something where he doesn't have to think about who's open. It needs to be, no matter what coverage is played, I know this guy is going to be that guy, and that's where I'm going with the football to get out my hands immediately to get 3 to 5 yards. Make it 2nd and 8, 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5, something manageable. But these 5+ step drops where he's looking deep to throw the ball on first down, 15 yards downfield and getting sacked, it's not helping.
Well, Monty is wondering about Alshon and Raygor and Goddard. Are these guys going to help him if he takes those deep drops?
I don't know who this Alshon person is. I told you before that there were 2 receivers who are no longer with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I will not mention their names for the rest of the season. Okay. So I don't know who this Alshon person is you speak of. I will say that Jalen Reagor is not on the injury report. Miles Sanders was limited in practice on Wednesday. Nate Herberg and Lane Johnson are both questionable for Sunday, so that's something to keep an eye on. You've seen the shuffles that we had on our offensive line. And tackle Malik Jackson is a quadriceps injury. He was limited in practice on Wednesday as well for the New York Giants. Sterling Shepard, Devontae Freeman were both limited in practice on Wednesday. They're listed as questionable with a hip and ankle respectively. And tight end Caden Smith is in a concussion protocol.
Is anyone taking the Giants here?
Giants fans?
No one on this podcast is. We're all going with the Eagles.
We didn't get a write-up from Jared?
Oh, I've been slacking in this regard.
Keep looking. I'll see if anyone wrote anything up for you today.
I don't think anybody did.
Say something positive about the Giants. Blake Martinez.
He will be back, yes.
And
these 2 teams played, he missed because of COVID.
He is playing. He's a top 5 linebacker playing in the league. He's the only bright spot on the Giants right now, defense. So just a nod to something positive.
You know what else? You want to know what else is positive? Let me look here. This next game is our final 1:00 game.
Yeah.
We have more 4:00 games than we have 1:00 games. This is an amazing feat. The NFL should look on this weekend and see how awesome football fans rejoice to having
you can thank the Masters for that. Split. It's not happening again this season.
Oh, let's schedule the Masters for every weekend then. Can we do that? Is that possible?
Notice all 1 o'clock games on Fox.
Yes. All right. Well,
the Masters.
That's great. So you know what's going to be even better is I hope there are some golf fans that get really mad because the Masters isn't finished by 4 o'clock and they cut away to the NFL. It'll be great.
Well, all the CBS games start at 4:25, so they have a little bit of leeway.
No, not all of them.
Much.
Not all of them. All right. Before we jump to the 4 o'clock, the last 1 o'clock game is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Carolina Panthers. The Bucs fall to 9th in the power rankings. The Panthers stay steady at 17. Vegas has favored the Buccaneers by 5.5 points. The New England Buccaneers, the Tampa Bay Patriots, listen,
really,
the Buccaneers and Tom Brady and company, they seem to be imploding themselves, and it's all because Tom Brady wanted a certain Antonio Brown on his team. How'd that work out last week?
I don't think that had anything to do with it. The Buccaneers were just beaten up, period. The addition of Antonio Brown didn't hinder that team in any way, shape, or form last week. Godwin played. Evans played. Every other key contributor on offense and defense thus far in the season played. Well, let me rephrase that. They all put on uniforms and they stood on the field and they moved around, but I don't necessarily call what they did actually playing football, more so than they took a beating from the Saints and that Saints defense. For whatever reason, Buccaneers they choked. I won't say they quit, but they choked. Any and everything that made them successful this season thus far completely failed them last week against the Saints. And Tom Brady looked like a guy who's too old to play football. Was it 3 picks last week?
It was a lot. But it's funny because Brady has 5 picks against the Saints, but only 2 against the rest of the teams that they played, yeah. Doc. So what was it that you saw last week?
Every facet of the game. First off, the big uglies. They won the game. Brady was pressured or dropped on 19 of 41 dropbacks. Right? 39 or 37% pressure in the 2 games overall. I'm just looking. Look at Onyemata. 7 total pressures. Hendrickson 5. Hendrickson 2 sacks. Onyemata 4 hits. Breeze. There's some motivation that goes on with the Saints. Everybody's written off Drew Brees. Look at his numbers. Can't throw the ball downfield. I don't want to hear about that anymore. It's just that this alchemy. It's like when you cook a perfect meal. Your mise en place is done perfectly. You made your sauce perfectly. Everything was an alchemy just together. The offense has not been healthy since week 1. When you have Michael Thomas and Sanders and Marquez Callaway and 2 tight ends and 2 running backs and a healthy line, they can dominate any team in the NFL that have an elite defense. Breeze has toasted most elite defenses the last 2 years. That being said, it's the big uglies that won this thing. They won high ratings at every single position on defense, and that is an anomaly because the Saints defense has sucked up until this point. But they are back. They are back, and Drew Brees needs a 15th ranked defense. Well, Demario Davis played like an all-pro. A lot of more shut down Jackson, which he always does. It's just this alchemy, this perfect crescendo of everything, and that's why it was such an uneven game. But not since 1970 in the Super Bowl era, not since they started Football Outsiders started ratings and dating back to 1970 has there been a number 1 DVOA team ever tortured the way they just were. But let's park this. It's 1 week. We know Brady is a winner. He'll come back. The Saints just need to back down and don't eat the cheese. Go out and do what they do. Now they've got a full, healthy team. Now you're going to see a Super Bowl contender if they can continue. Am I shocked? Yeah, me and my Saints fans were go, what? I'm still going to sacrifice a live goat at halftime in the backyard because I can see Brady putting up 4 touchdowns in the second half. We were talking ourselves out of what we were seeing for a full 3.5 quarters. It's just, listen, the Bucs are a good
hold on,
team.
Pedro Serrano. Yep. No sacrificing animals at halftime.
Well, wait a second. I want to know if the sacrifice of the goat goes along with that mise en place. What the heck language did you just drop on us earlier? I'm still hung up on that.
I'll say to my buddy, it's like cooking a perfect meal. You know, everything's organized in your damn fridge. The counter is organized. Your mise en place, which is all your preparatory work, your mirepoix. You cut your vegetables perfectly. You saute your meats perfectly. You do everything, and everybody is elated, and they think you're the king of your castle because it was a perfect meal, perfect cutlery. It was just an anomaly. So everybody just park it. Were they pound for pound at every single position better than the Bucs? Yes, it was 1 week. But they will face each other in the playoffs, and everybody knows how hard it is to beat a team 3 times in a row.
And to that point, the Carolina Panthers are not the New Orleans Saints. Now, I've been seeing a lot of national talk about the Carolina Panthers, you know, perhaps being the most improved team in the NFL. Matt Rule's really got something cooking there with Carolina, but I would just say, hold on a second, because the Carolina Panthers are not a team that I think can threaten the Buccaneers. And the last time these two teams met at the beginning of the season, the Bucs creamed them 31-17. Yes, it's a little bit further in the season. Bridgewater can still put up some yards. He's looking for his 3rd start in a row versus Tampa Bay with 300 plus passing yards, but there's not going to be a Christian McCaffrey running the ball behind Teddy Bridgewater. And Mike Davis is a good backup, but he's not Christian McCaffrey. And that Carolina defense, I don't think, can do what the Saints defense did to the Buccaneers last week.
Nah, I mean, look, we said it before. As hopeful as Carolina fans should be about the future of this franchise, the defense is still young. And there are big plays that they give up just due to lack of experience, really. There's a lot they haven't seen. Training camp probably would have did them well. They've blown some games that they probably should have won. So, look, first season rookie head coach, Teddy Two Gloves, starting hopefully, you know, for a full season. Hopefully he doesn't miss any more plays or games going forward for the first time in almost 4 years. So they can make this game competitive, but yeah, if nothing else, even if Tom Brady comes back to, say, play an average game against the Panthers, the Buccaneers defense has something to prove. Because for as much as we talked about those 2 linebackers, Levante David, Devin White, they were exposed last week against the Saints, and by everybody in man and zone. So the Panthers, maybe they find some things that work for the Saints and try to run it out there. You know, it's a copycat league. They had time to prep. Hopefully they can, you know, keep this game within a field goal. If it's close, I worry about the Buccaneers going forward. You know, no, I don't know if you know this, Jay, but no team whose stadium has hosted the Super Bowl has ever made the Super Bowl.
What?
Yeah,
I've never heard that before. I will say this, Monty. You know, and James sort of disagreed with me, but I saw a lot of Tom Brady trying to force it to Antonio Brown in some spots, and I don't think that was necessarily in his best interest.
I mean, I feel like he kind of went out on a limb to bring this cancer into the locker room, so he's got to prove that he was right. So you might see a little bit more of that, but they're not. They just got embarrassed on national TV. Tom Brady is not going to force the ball to Antonio Brown at the expense of winning this game, and I don't think that the Panthers defense has got an answer. Pick your poison. Do you want to lose to Mike Evans? Do you want to lose to Chris Godwin? I don't think it's even going to be that close. But yeah, Antonio Brown, he's a terrible human being. So I think we probably said all we need to say about that guy.
There you go. What's the injury report, James?
For the Panthers, you already said McCaffrey's going to be out. Another running back, Reggie Bofannon, has an ankle injury. He was limited. Defensive end, Stephen Weatherly, finger injury. He's questionable. Defensive end, Marcus Hayes, shows up as questionable. And a rookie for Defensive Player of the Year we didn't talk about, Jeremy Chin, has a knee injury for the Panthers. He's listed as questionable for Sunday. For the Buccaneers, Levante David, Jason Pierre-Paul, Shaq Barrett, and Steve McClendon on the defensive side of the ball all show up as questionable. Wide receivers Scotty Miller and Chris Godwin, growing and finger respectively, are questionable for the game as well.
Did you just say what I think you said?
What?
Did you just say the word? The inner thigh? I think you did, James. I think this is amazing.
4 o'clock game.
Wow.
I think we got to rename that a strained loin.
Before we jump to the 4 o'clock games, a couple of things that I missed for the 1 o'clock games. The Detroit Lions, we don't talk about the kickers, but I do think that this is an interesting stat. The Detroit Lions have the number one punter in the league in Jack Fox, averaging 52.8 yards per punt. That's a ginormous leg, by the way. Only 47.7 net, but that still leads the league. So good job by Detroit. Second thing, Monty, you brought this up in the chat. The temperature in Green Bay is below zero. I've been remiss in doing my weather reports. Should I be checking the weather for some of these games? Or is that the only game affected by weather right now?
That might be the only one.
I mean, it still might be a sunny day. I don't know if it'll be impacting the weather, but don't you think, get the sense you're going to see some kid from Jacksonville who's never seen the snow before, who's out there with a stocking cap on, just shivering on the sidelines, who just can't wait to get back on the bus?
Yes, I think we can.
Tennessee, Cleveland are the only other games outdoors at 1 o'clock. Giants, Panthers we just covered. I mean, maybe the rain from here in Atlanta makes its way up to Carolina by Sunday.
All right. Well, we'll keep our eye on the weather. Now, could the exact opposite happen? Is there a kid from Buffalo going to the desert here at 4 o'clock who's going to melt on the sideline? But, of course, they'll be indoors and temperature-controlled stadium, so I guess that can't happen.
Yeah, so first I want to say, big ups to Buffalo Rob and the way the Bills played last week. And while I like the way that Josh Allen played, I'm actually more impressed with this defense and what they did to Russell Wilson. As far as the quarterback, I know Rob is pretty much probably real high on him as well. He should be. I want to see this performance against a better defense. We trashed the Seahawks defense because they're dead last in passing. So the performance of Allen was good. To me, it wasn't impressive because this is a defense that's pretty much allowed every quarterback to do that to them this season. The Seahawks defense gets no pressure. They're probably dead last in the league in sacks, as well as interceptions. They just give up a crap ton of passing yards. I want to see Allen do this against a more stout defense, that same performance. And pretty much that'll sell me on Allen. But they played a great game last week collectively, top to bottom, all facets, against a very good Seahawks team. They're going to have to duplicate the same thing against Arizona. And defensively, while I gave them praise for last week, they're going to have to step it up a notch this week because Kyler Murray is a different animal than Russell Wilson. And while Murray can sling the ball all over the field, probably not as well as Russell Wilson, he's more mobile than Russell Wilson. And that's a dimension they're going to have to figure out quickly to win this game. So
you're going to make me go dig up the rushing stats on Kyler Murray. Before I do that, though, I want to leave you with a couple of things that surprised me statistically about this game. One, the number one offense in terms of yards per game is the Arizona Cardinals. The number one receiver in terms of receptions and yards is Stephon Diggs, 63 catches, 813 yards. both those numbers, both of those stats surprised me. I did not expect Stephon Diggs to be the leader right now in receiving, and I certainly did not expect the Cardinals to be the leader in offense right now. Doc?
I watched the whole game, and I think it was as much how inept Pete Carroll coached that team, expecting them to run the ball. What our Superman out of Buffalo is doing right now is being very, very accurate on intermediate passes. And you combine that with, Stephon Diggs has been unguardable by some defenses. And the defense for the Buffalo Bills, there's a lot of number 1 and 2 picks on that defense. And when they all play together, they did a number on Wilson. A couple of those picks were off coverage, just knowing where the being ball hawks. So I think this is going to be the game of the week. I really do. I'm blown away by how Kyler Murray's playing. I think the Arizona defense is a little unsung. I think they're a better defense right now than the Bills, but the Bills are good enough, I think, to contend all the way to the AFC Championship if they can get on a run here and just get some balance, not these 2 weeks off, 2 weeks on sort of thing. But I like what I saw out of the Bills. That was Super Bowl caliber play.
Here are the Kyler Murray stats. He's the 4th quarterback with 3+ touchdown passes and a rushing touchdown in consecutive games in the Super Bowl era. He's the 4th quarterback with 500+ rushing yards in each of his first 2 seasons in NFL history. He has 8 rushing touchdowns, which is tied most by a quarterback in the team's first 8 games of a season in the Super Bowl era, and aims for his 3rd in a row at home with 3+ passing touchdowns and 5th in a row at home with a rushing touchdown. You brought up the Bills defense. Jordan Poyer, along with Budda Baker from the Cardinals, are the 2 defensive backs this season that have 60+ tackles and 2+ sacks so far this season. So I agree with you. This is going to be a well-fought game. I'm a little curious as to why Vegas has got the Cardinals favored by 1.5 points. My guess is it's that home field advantage thing. I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills, though. I'm a believer in the Bills. I haven't seen them really struggle that much at all this season, and I think the Bills are going to do just fine here against the Cardinals, who are an up-and-coming team, but I just think the Bills are in a better position at this point. I am apparently alone on an island, though, in that regard, Monty.
I think there's good Josh Allen games, bad Josh Allen games. Sometimes he plays like TRASH, where he's throwing rockets, and other times he plays like trash. We'll just see if that cross-country flight is going to give us that consistently, accurate Josh Allen, or if he's going to play a little bit of hero ball. And I just don't know. I know the matchup of the week is going to be Nuke Hopkins versus that cornerback, Tre'Davious White, and that should be fun, but I just don't know what else. I don't know if the Bills have enough to keep Kyler Murray under wraps, because he kind of seems like when his first read is not there, he just tucks the ball and sprints, and he is fast. So I don't know, home field advantage. I think it'll be a great game. It'll be fun, and I think that the Cardinals might be able to eke one out here. Should be good.
Did we do the injury report, James?
We didn't, but before I get there, Monty, I agree with everything, but having watched the Cardinals last game against Miami, my concern is the head coach and decision-making down the stretch when this game is close. It's not if, it's when, because I don't see either one of these teams running away with it. If it happens, I would gladly do a mea culpa and say I was wrong, but I expect this game to be close the whole way. And if the Cardinals are driving down 3 points with a chance to go ahead and it's 4th and 1 again, I want to know what this head coach is going to call, because last week he chickened out and kicked the field goal.
Didn't you ask him on the recap show? I thought you guys had the Cardinals coach on the not quite a recap show. I thought I heard him there. I
still wasn't impressed with the decision, man. It still bothers me. It still bothers me right now. As far as injuries for the Cardinals, Dre Kirkpatrick, Budda Baker, Deontay Thomas, that's 3/4 of your secondary right there, all questionable. Tight end Max Williams, tackle Justin Murray, and running back Kenyon Drake, all listed as questionable. Drake is still nursing that ankle injury. He was limited in practice on Wednesday. For the Bills, tackle Cody Ford, Josh Norman, John Brown, guards Brian Winters, and Joe Feliciano all show up as questionable. Brown was absent from practice on Wednesday due to a knee, so that was just rest. Tre'Davious White also shows up on the injury report with an ankle injury.
Yes, Cliff Kingsbury on the Not a Recap show was talking a lot about his palatial home and his hot wife or girlfriend.
Yeah, I'm going to need him to pull the trigger and actually go for it on 4th and 1. You have Kyler Murray. The guy was basically unstoppable on all short yardage plays last week. And so far this season, that this is probably the most dangerous team to try to defend on short yardage situations with 1 yard to go or goal to go, because the entire playbook is open regardless of where they are on the field. Murray could keep it, drop the pass, run option. There's just too many options here with the ball in his hand as far as what you can do to get 1 yard. And look, they could line up to make it look like sneak, and he can just do whatever he wants with the ball. It's scary, and he didn't take advantage of that last week. Hopefully it doesn't become a pattern.
The Denver Broncos are at the Las Vegas Raiders, and I will say this, Monty. Well, first I'll tell you that the Broncos are 22nd in the power rankings. Raiders are 13th. By the way, the Bills are 6th in the power rankings. The Cardinals are 12th. Raiders are favored by Vegas by 5. How's that work out, by the way? Are they allowed to handicap the team in their town? Anyway, I will say this, Monty. I always love looking at the take giveaway ratio, and the Raiders are -4 as they only have 5 takeaways, but they only have 9 giveaways. So while they're not making too many turnovers, they're not causing many turnovers on offense either.
Yeah, I think Derek Carr is, pretty conservative. He doesn't take too many chances with the ball. I don't know how many picks he has, but I know it's not that many. He didn't quite have 20 touchdown passes to make the stat you rattled off earlier. So I don't know. This is a good division game. This should be close, should be a battle. I think Drew Lock is a young quarterback, needs to play a little bit more consistently, but you got the ex-Alabama wide receiver teammates probably been texting back and forth all week of who's going to go off. So I'm anticipating Judy to have a good game. I know he banged up his shoulder a little bit, but I don't think the Raiders have much answer there. It should be a good game, and they're playing at home in Vegas, so I'm giving the nod to the Raiders. Otherwise, I think the point spread would probably go the other way because the Raiders are just playing well enough to eke out these kind of games, and the Broncos, 22nd in the power ranks. I know they've struggled a little bit this year. The Raiders should win this game. They've got some upcoming matchups with the Colts and the Dolphins to see who's going to end up with those wild card spots, but this is a game they really should win. I know their offensive line's a little banged up, but Tom Cable, the cable guy, he's been working wonders with the backups that he's been shuffling around back and forth. So I don't know, it should be a good game. I don't anticipate it being a blowout one way or the other. And Chucky's got this team, believing that they can win these games. So I think we'll see another win out in the desert for Chucky and the crew this week as well.
Tom Cable, I didn't even know he was still in the league, and certainly didn't realize he was still with the Raiders.
Offensive line coach, he's killing it.
I know. The last time these two teams played, Monty, was the end of last year, and the Broncos won 16-15. So can the Raiders do enough to flip-flop that?
I think, a lot of people are saying Henry Ruggs isn't putting up enough production to justify what how early he was drafted. But I think the stuff that he does to stretch out the field opens it up for the rest of the team. Like James's favorite ex-Eagle wide receiver, Nelson Aguilar's having a pretty solid.
Never heard of that guy. I don't know what you're talking about.
Resurgence with his career, because I think the speed that Ruggs has, you got to pay attention to him on defense. So I think that changes things a little bit. And guys like Darren Waller and Nelson Aguilar The other rookie wide receiver played his first action since week 1 last week. We might see a little bit more out of him this week. Josh Jacobs has got it running. We got a Devontae Booker revenge game. A little salty that they brought in Melvin Gordon and kicked him to the curb. I think the Raiders got a little more juice on offense. The question really becomes their defense, which has been pretty brutal. They got to get some pressure on Drew Lock and make him make some quick decisions, and I think they might be able to get another turnover this week. But it should be a good game.
James, what do you got?
Yeah, everything Monty said, honestly. This wide receiver he keeps mentioning, that's my favorite guy. I have no idea who he's talking about.
He looks like a different guy. That's why. He looks like a different human being out there.
I'm convinced it's identity fraud or something, because I see this 15 running down the field, catching over-the-shoulder balls. Everything that's thrown to him, he's coming down with. And this is weird name on the back of his jersey. And I'm like, surely that can't be the guy from Philadelphia, because that guy's trash. Couldn't catch a cold in the phone booth. And he's got what right now? 300 yards on the season receiving, like 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, and his touchdowns have all been over 20 yards too. It's insane. I don't know what the hell that guy did in the offseason, but it's working.
I'm pretty sure he's an alien, a pod person. We're looking at Invasion of the Body Snatchers or something. He's not the only former Eagles receiver that's had a resurgence. The Dolphins have some guy called Matt Collins who caught the game-winning touchdown against Arizona last week, and that guy could never get open. So I don't understand what's happening with these people who, quote, used to be Eagles receivers.
What's the injury report look like?
We got Alec Ingold, the fullback, Jonathan Abram, the safety, both listed as questionable. Trayvon Mullen, the corner, still nursing a hamstring injury. Keyshawn Nixon, Maurice Hurst, and Arden Key also showing up on the injury report as questionable for the Raiders. For the Denver Broncos, Deontay Spencer, wide receiver, nursing a shoulder injury. A.J. Bouye, his clear concussion protocol should be available. He's listed as questionable. Devontae Bosby, cornerback, he will be out this week. I think they just recently activated him, so due to COVID protocols. Bryce Callahan, the other corner, he's questionable. Jerry Jeudy, who was mentioned earlier, still nursing a shoulder injury. He didn't practice on Wednesday. That was probably precautionary, but he is listed as questionable. Noah Fant, the tight end, nursing an ankle injury. He is also questionable for Sunday.
The next game is the Los Angeles Chargers at the Miami Dolphins. Chargers 21st in the power rankings. The Dolphins, is this right? The Dolphins are on 15? They're in the top half of the league? It's amazing. Miami Dolphins, never thought I'd see the day. They are favored by 2.5 points in this game. I believe this should be an interesting breakdown because someone on this podcast has the Chargers as an upset special, while another someone has the Dolphins as his lock of the week. Wow. It's not me, so it can only mean it's Monty and James. I'd almost play the superfan battle, except you guys aren't super fans of either team. I will start with you, though, Monty, because you watched the Chargers last week against your team. What did you see that gives you, thoughts that they're an upset special?
So I guess the first thing I'd throw out there is, like we had kind of made jokes earlier, the Bolts are playing everyone close games. So, I mean, it should come down to a 1-score game, and you can't lose them all, right? Maybe you can. We've seen that before, but I
New York.
think that
They're not New York, but New York is going to lose them all.
This rookie quarterback has found number 13. He's got this big burly beard, and he's just an animal, and he just feeds him the ball. And if you want to roll over and, double team or roll your coverages over to stop Keenan Allen or try to prevent him, he's still got this humongous beast of a man named Mike Williams who'll just jump up and grab the ball. So I do think that the Bolts offense is going to have a little bit of success. I think Herbert's playing really well, and I think Keenan Allen is the best player on the field for both teams, with all due respect to young Tua can't even say his last name. So I just think it's going to be a close game. I think the Bolts are going to give them a run for their money, and I think that the Magic, the Dolphins are playing great. I think they're probably a year or two farther along the rebuild process than anyone would have thought. But they're still a young team. They got a young quarterback. Melvin Ingram can get in there and get some pressure, and Bosa comes back. I think he had a concussion last week, so the Raiders didn't have to face him. I think it's going to be a close game. Should come down to the wire, and I'm just going to give the shout out to Kenneth, our old intern, and his boy Herbert. He's hoping to see some win this week. I don't know. I don't have much. It's just a gut call. So wreck 'em. Adam and Eve on a raft. Wreck 'em.
Adam and Eve on a raft, a cup of muck, and an upset special.
All right. So, James, you've locked the Dolphins in. Why?
Yeah, for everything that Monty just said is why I'm locking in the Dolphins. Look, the Chargers, I mean, I can't say any better than Monty just said. The Chargers are 2-6 on the season. Their point differential is -9. They've given up 11. You've given them 11 more points than they've scored all year. All right, 205 to 216. Out of the 8 games they played, 7 have been one score, and they only won one of them. So, I mean, they beat the Jaguars by 10. That's the only non-one-score game they've been in. And if you look at the way this team plays on the stretch, whether the defense is on the field at the end of a game or the offense is on the field at the end of a game, it doesn't go their way. Last week against the Raiders, Monty, I'm pretty sure, was sweating bullets thinking that the tight end caught the ball at the end until a replay showed the ball fell out. Against the Broncos, the Broncos drive down and, snatch victory from defeat after their offense, put them ahead. The Saints game, they missed field goals. The Buccaneers, they just couldn't hang. I mean, it's like what's going to happen next with 1 minute left in this one-score game, and whether they're ahead or behind, they will fail either way to close out the game, and that's not a recipe for success. And I don't know what's going on because, as we said, Herbert's having a wonderful season. Over 2,100 passing yards, 17 touchdowns. Got a 75.4 QBR in the season.
Yeah,
those are all very good numbers, and they don't resemble the numbers of a quarterback of a team who's 2-6. Yes, there is talent out there on the offensive side of the ball, wildly inconsistent at times. Yes, they could probably use another body in the backfield, but for as stout as this defense is supposed to be, it's failed them epically this season. And yeah, the Dolphins may be ahead and they may be young across the board, but they have a defensive-minded head coach who apparently, unlike his predecessor, knows how to coach up a team. Because there's some defensive genius supposedly somewhere in Detroit who's supposed to be, doing great things. But I'm just saying, Flores has got this defense playing well.
I knew you weren't referring to Belichick. I was like, what are you talking about?
No, I wasn't referring to Belichick. Come on.
Although we're going to get there.
To be a close game, though, right? I mean, it should come.
It's got to be. It's got to be.
Yeah,
and I'm telling you, if it's the offense, if Herbert's got the ball in his hands at the end of the game, I think they got a puncher's chance. If it's Tua who's got the ball at the end of the game, then the Dolphins will probably win that based on what the Bolts are doing this year. But I just got a hunch they're due.
James, read what you just said. You think about this. 1 yard. They potentially beat the Saints. 1 yard on a field goal, 64 yards, which would have been an NFL record.
Right.
2 drop passes in the end zone last week. That's 4-4. I want to go back to that QB. It is unsung what he is doing.
Yeah.
No preseason games, no snaps with the first team. And all of a sudden he gets slung in there. And to do what he is doing with that kind of, he's got decent talent on the offensive end. It's a very average defense from week to week, but they're good enough to win. So what I'm saying, they're a snot ball from 4-4. Okay, so it's a 2-6 team, but I'm going to tell you something. I'm almost as impressed just in 2 games the way Tua's playing. I think that this is a matchup that we are going to see for the next decade. 2 great quarterbacks building on the back of the NFL. This is with Burrow, and this is a new era. And what Herbert is doing is it's never been done. Look at his numbers are ridiculous. His QBR for this is ridiculous. And he's had injuries on offense too. This kid is cooler than a cucumber up a you-know-what's butt. I'm telling you, I'm looking forward to this game because just to watch Herbert, it is unmatched what he is doing as a rookie in this league. That makes it exciting. Tua has got this slipperiness like Kyler Murray even though, it's going to be a great game. But I'm going to tell you something. That's why he's my offensive rookie of the year. He's going to potentially be an all-pro player right away. I don't know. Something's got to – is this an anomaly? But I'm just saying to this point, it's some enigma. I don't know why, but it's happening. This kid is fun to watch.
Are you taking the Chargers or the Dolphins, Doc?
I'm taking the Chargers by 4 points.
Doc, look, you mentioned the slipperiness of Tua. This is something that the Chargers haven't seen this season, really. I mean, the most mobile quarterback they've played thus far was Patrick Mahomes in week 2 with the Chiefs. And, I mean, they pretty much bottled him up. But I would say Tua's probably more mobile than Pat Mahomes. And it's an element of his game that he doesn't really show off that much. And it's caught the last 2 teams off guard. So I hear everything you're saying. I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers somehow pulled this out to win. I just think the Dolphins are just playing better across the board than the Chargers are right now. And look, the way the Chargers have been snake bitten, it's pretty much just, when you're waiting for something bad to happen, you're like, all right, it's looking good now. I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop. And that's pretty much how I feel watching the Chargers, play football. It's like, oh, okay, they look like they're going to pull. Wait, there's 30 seconds left. Let's see what happens here.
But can Tua without that defense match Herbert right now? Herbert's good for at least 3 touchdowns, right? I just think they can outscore Miami. I don't think Tua's there yet.
Yeah, I think Flores has done a great job with this defense. I don't know if Herbert's throwing 3 touchdowns.
So the rule of thumb is to pick against James. Whatever James says, you go the opposite way. But I'm actually going to pick the Dolphins. But I'm not crazy in locking them in. I don't see them as a lock of the week. But I will take that one, Doc. I don't see Justin Herbert getting 3 touchdowns in this one.
All right, here's what we'll do.
Dolphins defense is for real.
Yeah, they are. But I will tell you this, and this is just my hunch. Because I'm loving watching the Dolphins play. Mm-hmm. It's nice to have a quality Dolphins team and a quality Bills team in a Brady Belichick era. It is. It's just nice flavor. So I'll tell you what, Dolphins and Tua pull this one off. In the next 2 weeks, I'll give you my mahi Maui recipe. It'll be dolphin fish, and it'll be delicious. How's that? There you go.
I like that idea.
You had me at mahi.
What is the injury report, James?
For the Dolphins, tight end Durham Smythe is in a concussion protocol. Running back Max Breida is nursing a hamstring, both listed as questionable. For the Chargers, Joey Bosa is in concussion protocol. Justin Jackson has a knee injury. He was rested on Wednesday, questionable. Guard Trey Turner and tackle Brian Balaga also listed as questionable for Sunday's game.
The Cincinnati Bengals are at the Pittsburgh Steelers. These are the 4:25 games now. And the Steelers, despite being undefeated, I don't know what's wrong with you super fans, but the Steelers, despite being undefeated, are only second in the power rankings. Now, I understand how we all do our power rankings differently. I'm never going to force anyone to do power rankings in a certain way. Everyone's got their reasons for ranking teams however they want to. However, the Steelers have proven that they are the best team to this point of the season. Not the Kansas City Chiefs, who are currently our number one team and are on a bye this week. The Kansas City Chiefs have lost 2 games and have shown a weakness. The Steelers have shown weaknesses, but have overcome them in all 8 games that they have played. The Bengals are 26th in the power rankings. They got a young, bright, up-and-coming quarterback, just like the other 2 teams we mentioned earlier. The Vegas line is 7.5 points in favor of the Steelers, and I am going to take the Steelers in this game. Although, we mentioned this earlier about the COVID list. So, James, what is the latest? Is Roethlisberger going to be active for this, or what? What do we know?
We do not know. Yeah, so much like another game we'll get to that's being played at Sunday night that has some question marks around it, this game is scheduled to be played. Someone on the Pittsburgh Steelers did
Vance
test positive
McDonald.
for COVID. Vance McDonald, the tight end, tested positive due to contact with someone. They did the contact tracing, someone he came in contact with, so he tested positive. But unfortunately, he's had close contact with basically the entirety of the offense. So 4 other players, including Ben Roethlisberger, are pretty much not at the facility this week while they go through their protocols of distancing. And as of right now, this game is still being played. The big question mark is whether Ben is going to clear testing in time to play the game on Sunday. The only bright side in this, unlike Detroit's situation last week where Matthew Stafford flew separately just in case he, passed his COVID test, Steelers don't have to leave Pittsburgh because the game is there. So his sequestering can be done right there in Pittsburgh. He doesn't have to worry about travel. That's pretty much the only bright side on this, along with the other 3 players who have tested positive to this point. The good thing is, though, when all this came out on Tuesday, there have been no new positive tests so far today at the time of this recording. So,
Well,
Ben and those other players do not show up on the injury report currently.
Here's the other thing. Steelers have beaten the Bengals for the past 9 games, so I don't even know if they need Ben Roethlisberger. But Monty wants to come at me because Pittsburgh struggled with Dallas. Listen, you're going to have your struggles, but ultimately they came out with the victory, and this is the Bengals we're talking about.
But, Pod, I did want to knock them down to 2 just because they struggled with Dallas. And, yeah, the Chiefs only have
the rest
one
of their
loss,
wins aren't all that impressive either. They beat the Titans. I don't know what's going on with Baltimore, but Lamar Jackson is not playing the way that he was last year. The rest of the teams that they've won, I mean, was it the NFC East? That's not setting the world on fire, Pod. If you line up the Steelers versus Kansas City right now in Wichita, Kansas, or I guess since it's Kansas City in Fargo, North Dakota, you're telling me Pittsburgh is going to win that game hands down? No way. Who even played quarterback for Dallas last week?
I don't care. I'll get the AFL Player of the Year, Gary Gilbert, whatever. Gilbert Grape. Doesn't matter.
Gilbert Grape. Yeah, it does matter.
The point is the Steelers won. Stats are for losers. They relish in them. The only stat that matters is the one that has a check mark under the W.
Yep. You can only play who you can play, right?
And I would take the Steelers over the Kansas City Chiefs, quite honestly.
Have you watched Patrick Mahomes play quarterback?
I have watched Patrick Mahomes. I actually talked about my obsession with Patrick Mahomes on the recap podcast. So yes,
and before Roethlisberger was put on the close contact list, he was also whining about his knees hurting because he's old and he wasn't in the headlines for anything. So,
well, he did take a double shot to the knee against Dallas on Sunday.
Yeah,
I mean, replay clearly shows 2 guys hit his knee at the same time.
That was a nasty looking hit there, Monty.
Well, when he struggles again with the Bungles, then you can tell me again how they should be the number 1 team.
Okay, well, if they struggle against the Bungles, but they're not. The Bungles give up 400 yards on defense per game. They have a negative takeaway giveaway ratio, -1. The Pittsburgh Steelers are +7. TJ Watt with 7 sacks is only 2 behind the sack leader. I mean, the Steelers' defense alone is all they're going to need to take care of the Bengals, despite Joe Burrow having a pretty good year for a rookie. But it's another thing when you face the Steelers, who have beaten this team 9 straight times. That stuff gets into the psyche of a team.
Burrow wasn't there for any of those other games.
He's going to learn. He's going to learn. He's going to learn real quick.
Oh, man.
Now, Ben Roethlisberger's been there for 20 years. He thinks this is a walk in the park, and he's going to go out and he's going to get punched in the mouth. Tell him. Singletary. Tell him.
I don't think so. I think Mr. Mike Singletary is being rather quiet. Doc, which side are you on this one?
Pittsburgh's got too much talent. This is the degradation of Ben Roethlisberger, right? There's only going to be so much he can do in this era of mobile quarterbacks. And here we saw, the double hit on the knee. We don't know if that's going to be a habitual problem. He has weapons. Yes, he has a great defense. I think this is a soft, undefeated team. As in, it's a soft. They're good. Do they deserve to be top of the league? Sure. But are they beatable? Abso-freaking-lutely, they are beatable. And I'm going to tell you something. Joe Burrow has gone up. Remember, he was almost untouched when he had 5 offensive line starters out. So who knows? They got to play the game. But I think the future of that team, no matter how good that defense is, from every level, defensive backfield, linebacker, and defensive line, I think Ben has got to be healthy going forward. This should be at least a 10-point win. If it's not, Pittsburgh start worrying.
Yeah, Doc, to your point, and Monty brought this up as far as the competition and how they've beaten teams. Almost every single one of the games this season has been a one-score victory, with the exception of the Eagles, who they beat by 9, the Browns, who they blew out by 31. Other teams they played this year, the Giants, the Titans, the Ravens, Cowboys, the Texans, Broncos. They really only played the better teams of their schedule in 2 of the last 3 weeks, Cowboys notwithstanding, and the Titans and the Ravens. And say what you will, the Titans were undefeated coming into that game. And the Ravens, look, Lamar is not doing the Lamar Jackson things we have become accustomed to him. But that's just the league catching up. You know, his running numbers are down, but his passing numbers are up, even though as a team they're still bottom of the league. We'll get to that later. But looking at the rest of Pittsburgh's schedule, and after Cincinnati, they have the Jaguars, the Ravens again, Washington, the Bills, the Bengals, the Colts, and close out against the Browns. Of the remaining teams on the schedule, the only real threats I see as far as beating them is the rematch against the Ravens, which is Thanksgiving night, and at Buffalo. I don't trust any other team on the schedule to beat Pittsburgh.
The Colts would have I would say that's a 50-50 shot.
I don't trust any other team on this schedule to beat Pittsburgh. Did I stutter when I said that?
Browns are a 50-50 shot, week 17.
The same saying. Browns that lost 38-7.
Right, but it's the end of the season. Browns get more in their form. They need it more, as Neil would like to say. What's the injury report on this one? Because we spend a lot of time on a team that's going to blow out a team.
Oh, man. For the Steelers, Juju Smith-Schuster has a knee injury. Defensive ends Isaiah Buggs and Tyson Alualu show up as questionable. For the Bengals, Shaq McKinley, who they just recently acquired this week, has that inner thigh thing going on. I don't even know how he's even eligible to play, considering he was just acquired. He's just as questionable. Joe Mixon.
There's not another team that was testing him, so he's been He's been regularly tested.
Still a little suspect to me. Joe Mixon, foot injury, he's listed as questionable. Offensive linemen, Jonah Williams and Bobby Hart, also listed as questionable.
Although you're right, because at the trade deadline, you couldn't play – all those players were regularly tested. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
Interesting. The Seattle Seahawks are at the Los Angeles Rams. The Seahawks are ranked 4th in our power rankings. The Rams are 10th, and they are favored by 1.5 points in this game. The power rankings are going to take the Seahawks, though. This is an interesting one for me. The Rams have won 4 of the past 5, including last season in December, beating the Seahawks 28-12. And I love looking at the disparity between offense and defense. And the Seahawks come in with the top offense in the league, but the Rams, what's getting the job done is their defense and having Aaron Donald and the top sacker in the league. So this is offense versus defense, and I haven't been keeping track so far this season, but every time we seem to bring up the offense versus defense, I feel like the defensive side has been winning these matchups. Doc, who you got?
I like the Rams defense, and I think that when Goff is best, he's feeding Woods. It's a possession offense, keeps it simple. I'm going to take the Rams. I think that defense is a top 7 defense right now in the league, and Donald can change a game. I think he will too. Are we talking Seattle defense here?
Well,
do we go
do
there?
They have a defense to talk about?
Do we go there? You know, it's like it's so inept. It is mid-teens of the 2000s New Orleans Saints inept. Rob Bryan inept. That's how bad it was last week, and it's been that way for weeks now. So I don't know. I can't see them. You got to play on both sides of the ball, and right now, I just think that defense is going to be able to if you can keep Russell in check for the most part, like 3 quarters, like the Bills did. That thing is at least a touchdown win for the Rams. I'm going with the Rams, better quality team right now, all in all.
James, you're alone on an island with the Seahawks.
Yeah, I might be questioning this, but I have to look at the Rams' schedule. This is a 5-3 team through 8 weeks. They had to bye last week. And the 5 victories are against the entire NFC East and the Chicago Bears. And in their 3 losses, they've given up on average 30 points a game to the Bills, the Niners, and the Dolphins. I have concerns about the quality of football this team plays on a week-in and week-out basis. To say inconsistent is being nice. I don't have a word to describe it because I don't know which Rams team is going to show up. And, yeah, the Seahawks are atrocious as far as the passing game on defense. And you look at the Rams offense and think Goff and Kupp and the rest of those wide receivers should torch the secondary, but I don't see how this team as a whole gets right to play consistent football down the stretch. I mean, they still haven't even played the Cardinals yet, or the Buccaneers. So,
True that.
I have grave concerns. Look, the only thing we can say about the Seahawks right now is pass defense, horrible. And yes, that's a big, big issue. But almost everywhere else, they're either solid or exceptional. I don't even know what to say about the Rams right now. So, yeah, I will stand on an island alone and pick the Seahawks to win this game because I know that they're going to give up a crap ton of passing yards, but I don't know what I'm getting out of the Rams right now.
How about you, Monty?
Division games, always tough, always close. I think Russell Wilson's obviously the best player on the field, MVP and all of that. Just think it's going to be close, come down to the wire, and I'm going with the home team. I don't know. It seems like Seattle always lays a couple eggs here and there, especially within the division. I don't think it's anything. I'm not going to lower them down my power rankings one way or the other because I think the Rams are a pretty solid team, much better than any of the teams that the Steelers have played.
James, what's the injury report?
Laundry list for the Seahawks. We've got KJ Wright, Shaq Griffin, Carlos Hyde, Quentin Dunbar, Chris Carson, Greg Olsen, Dwayne Brown, Ethan Posick, Mike Iapati. In case you're keeping track, that's 3 offensive linemen and 2 running backs. So offensively, I'd be concerned. but they have Russell Wilson. For the Rams, we got David Edwards, the tackle. Cooper Kupp, the wide receiver, has a wrist injury. He was limited on Wednesday. And running back Darrell Henderson, who leads the team in rushing, thigh and quad injuries, was also out of practice on Wednesday. So a couple of players there in the offense to keep an eye on for the Rams.
And they're coming off their bye week. The Cooper Kupp injury, very, very troublesome for my friend with the fantasy team. Very, very troubling.
There's a market adjustment.
Team might want to find another wide receiver.
There's a market adjustment here, gentlemen, on Wilson. A big adjustment. He's throwing picks. Finally, he was playing at a ridiculous Hall of Fame level, but it's all come back, and it's all connected to one thing: the pressure of the offense or of the defensive line and the ability to protect him, and the man-to-man defense. You connect one to the other, and you can get him out of his comfort zone. He has not been as effective this year throwing on the run. He threw some pretty brutal picks against the Bills, and this is a couple weeks now. So just watch it. MVP, no more. He ain't.
Oh, no. He's still guaranteed it. He's
there.
Never received a vote.
Either has Drew Brees. And look at his
but
numbers
Doc
the
is
last
right,
2
though.
weeks.
2 of the last 3 weeks, brutal interceptions. 3 against the Bills, 3 against the Cardinals.
Yep.
The 49ers game, he came away unscathed, no picks, but 6 interceptions over the last 3 weeks.
I'm telling you right now, the national narrative is not going to allow anyone other than Russell Wilson be the MVP.
Not if he loses this week.
Talk to us in a couple of weeks.
I still think it'll be Russell Wilson. All right. San Francisco 49ers are at Doc's New Orleans Saints. The Niners are not falling fast enough, only 19 in the power rankings. And the Saints back up into the top 5 at number 5. They are favored by Drew Brees' number, 9 points in this particular game. I have a feeling we're all going to go with the Saints against the XFL 49ers, but Doc, I don't know your pick.
Well, I'll talk it down a bit. Kyle Shanahan's got my coach's number, but there's just not enough talent right now. I will say this. Fred Warner could be the defensive MVP of the league right now. He's that good. By the way, we were talking about the Cards. Budda Baker, too, is going to get some nods for that. The Niners, no matter who plays, always play the Saints tough in the dome. Home is a fallacy. Home advantage for the Saints is a fallacy. But what I am excited about, can they not eat the cheese from last week, play up to their capabilities? If they do, that defensive line is an unmatched rotation in the league right now. I don't know what their total pressure rate is now, but we are rotating 7 guys off that defensive line. We're getting sacks. Nobody runs for 100 yards in this team in the last three and a half years now. And if we can get average play out of our defensive backs, over average like we did last week, this could be a 28-point win. If not, I still accept the fact that Kyle Shanahan's got Sean Payton's number, and he is an offensive mastermind to a point still. There's enough there to keep it within 10 points. I'm still going to take the Saints by 10 points. So,
the last game, regular season game, that is, that they played was a 48-46 victory by the Niners. Is that the one where George Kittle was a man and 3 players tried to pull him down? It's because
Marcus Williams tried to tackle him from the shoulders. 3 Saints players could have taken his knees out 30 yards before, and it was just horrific.
Well, the good thing is that you don't have to worry about George Kittle because he's not playing in this game.
Thank God.
The other good thing is you mentioned that the Drew Brees narrative has got to go away. And in particular, he likes to play against the 49ers. So despite the fact that the Niners have their number, Brees puts up numbers against the Niners. Averages in 10 career games is averaged over 300 yards per game, 2.7 touchdowns per game, and only 7 interceptions in those 10 career games. So Brees doesn't do too badly against the 49ers. But then again, Brees doesn't do that badly against anybody.
We're seeing the old Drew a bit, but he's coming back. He's got the weapons. we'll see what happens. It's still a top 12 defense. There's still enough quality there, and I think they're getting a little healthier. But it's exciting for me as a fan when they're finally healthy. He's got the full offensive setback. And if this train gets rolling, watch out. But I still think don't eat the cheese yet. Let's just go do what you can do. Kamara, top 3 offensive MVP in the league. They get him going. And this is, we're going back to the Tampa game. Sorry. The secret sauce to beating the Bucs, if you look at this, they do have the fastest linebackers in the league. Devin White's playing out of his mind. He had an off game. Run straight at him. You're not going to beat him to the sidelines. And that's why Alvin Kamara didn't have a great game. You can't beat him to the sidelines. Run straight at him. Latavius Murray was averaging 8 yards a run earlier in the game. So my point is the Saints right now, I just think they're healthy. Let's see what the full set, what they're playing against an average team. But the one thing that is crucial here, Drew always carves up good defenses with whatever he's got. So I think this is still a quality defense, and it'll be nice to see the Saints get on a roll without major injuries, with a full head of steam here for the first time in a couple of years. So,
not to leave Kamara too quickly, but Kamara leads the league with 1,036 scrimmage yards, 565 receiving, 471 rushing. He can become, and let's put it this way, unless he gets hurt, will become the first player with 500-plus rushing yards and 500-plus receiving yards in each of his first 4 seasons in NFL history. That's pretty good. The next question I'll pose to you, Doc, is last year we made a big deal about Christian McCaffrey getting to 1,000. Can Kamara do it this season? Can Kamara end up with 1,000 receiving yards, 1,000 rushing yards?
If everybody stays healthy, no. Look at the ball distribution on Monday night. 12, 13 total different receivers, including the Teddy Bridgewater pass. Adam Troutman caught more balls and calls than any tight end in the NCAA. He's finally into his 7th, 8th game. He's getting 30 to 40 snaps a game. Had his first touchdown, his second catch. So we got 2 tight ends to throw to. We have 4 wide receivers. We have back-to-back the finest special teams in the league. All 3 are running well. Now, here's the deal. Michael Thomas is back. Got to feed Mike. He had 5 or 6 catches on Monday. He's going to get 10 balls this week. Sanders is going to get another 4 or 5 catches. You got to keep the tight ends healthy. Again, the distribution and the packages that Sean Payton puts in, my answer is no. Not if everybody's healthy.
Mike Thomas aims for his 3rd in a row versus the Niners with 5+ receptions and a touchdown catch. Let's go to the injury report, James, especially on the 49ers, because I'm looking here at the notes and they highlight Richie James, and that's because he was literally the only receiver healthy for the 49ers. So will Nick Mullins why are we talking about the Nick Mullins is the quarterback, and he's going to be throwing to Richie James and maybe some banged up wide receivers?
Yeah, and those banged up wide receivers are River Crackraft with a quad injury.
Let's not worry about Cray. Yeah, okay.
Trent Taylor has a back injury, and Deebo Samuel hamstring. Neither of them participated very much in Wednesday's practice. They're all listed as questionable.
No Brandon Ayuk there?
I don't see Brandon Ayuk here listed.
So that would be good news for Nick Mullins.
I believe Ayuk is out for a couple of weeks. If not, because last week or the week before he was on the COVID list?
I don't know.
I believe he was one of the players on the COVID list the last time they played and couldn't participate. So, he I don't know if he's been activated off that yet. Kevin Coleman has a knee injury. He is unlikely to play on Sunday, so there's, another running back that you could throw out there. Yeah. With the string and rash of injuries they've had now on offense, Doc, I'm going to be looking at you funny next time you're on here if your Saints don't do to Nick Mullins what they did to Tom Brady. It's going to look weird. It just is.
All right. I believe we finally made it to Sunday Night Football.
For the Saints, by the way, Ryan Ramczyk, Eric McCoy, Drew Brees, and Michael Thomas all show up as questionable in the injury report.
No, so we're not worried about that. All right. Sunday Night Football. The Baltimore Ravens are at the New England Patriots. The Ravens are third in the power rankings. The Patriots actually somehow moved up from 21 to 20. I do not know how that is possible, considering I ranked the Patriots at 23rd, and frankly, wanted to rank them at 31, but couldn't bring myself to put them that low. This is not a Patriots team I've ever seen. Well, at least in the last 2 decades. Previous to the 2 decades, I've seen a Patriots team worse than this. In any case, Ravens are favored by 7. They're going to just annihilate the Patriots. You could lock them in, and I believe, actually, Monty has, in fact, locked in the Ravens.
He beat me to it. That's why I went with Miami.
The Ravens have scored at least 20 points in 31 consecutive regular season games, which surpasses the 2012 to 2014 Broncos, who did it in 30 games for the longest such streak in NFL history. They're gonna easily get another game. They're gonna score at least 20, if not double that. That stretch parallels the early career of Lamar Jackson, who last week improved to 25-5 over his first 30 NFL starts, tying the best mark by a starting quarterback in the Super Bowl era, which is held by Pro Football Hall of Famer Dan Marino, who was also 25-5. You guys are talking about Lamar not doing Lamar things. Nothing like playing that top 10 defense of the New England Patriots to get yourself right. Yeah. I don't know what happened.
Not top 10.
I don't know what happened to the Patriots defense. Ever since COVID hit this team has not been the same. They clearly did not want to win against the Jets last week, but the Jets said, "Oh, you're going to win. There's no way we're going to let you lose." And so the Patriots did ultimately win against the Jets. If it took that much effort from the Patriots to beat the Jets, there is no way they will beat any other team this season. Hands down, mark it down. The Patriots suck. Now, at the same time, as I say that, Bill Belichick is still the head coach of this team, and he doesn't let his team quit. I haven't seen signs that anyone on the Patriots has quit yet, but I also don't see signs that there's any talent on this team to make any sort of noise in any sort of way. And while I hear people say that there's a path for the Patriots, and there is, the Patriots could finish the season 9-7, even losing against the Ravens here, could still get that 7th playoff spot. And God forbid if there's an 8th playoff spot, I swear that will be the worst thing that could happen to the Patriots. But there is a path there. Patriots have no business being in this game. Their run defense has been pathetic. Their defensive line is banged up. They keep bringing in different people off the street, and they have to wait a week before they're even activated. And who knows what that defensive line is going to do against the Ravens. They're going to run all over the Patriots. This game could end up being a quick one because the Patriots like to run the ball too because Cam Newton can't throw the ball. So expect a quick game. Expect the Ravens to score 40. And the Patriots maybe get 20, maybe. That's a big maybe. Boy, is that a big maybe. Yeah, Ravens.
I have to disagree with you a little bit, Pod. Cam can throw the ball. He just has no one to throw it to.
No, Cam can't throw the ball. Cam can't throw the ball, and he doesn't have anyone to throw it to. That's the double whammy on that one. His accuracy is shot. He cannot put the ball where it needs to be.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it's true.
I've got nothing more to add to this game. It is a game the Ravens should win, and that's all I have outside of the injury report, unless somebody else wants to say something.
I can't believe we're going to roll through a Patriots game. This is terrible. Monty, give me something a little more.
The only thing I would like to add, love listening to Patriots Today and have Pod drop all this anti-Patriots. It's been a long time since this podcast has been rolling, and it is kind of fun to listen to. So I was just sitting back eating some popcorn there. The only other thing that I'd say is I get the feeling that Harbaugh, the coach of the Ravens, probably remembers Belichick and his shenanigans in the playoffs. I bet you when the schedule came out, he kind of circled this game. And I just don't see this Ravens defense giving up 20 points. I don't know who the Patriots punter is, but we're going to find out who he is.
Jake Bailey.
He's
pretty good, actually.
A lot of action this week. Yeah, he's going to be getting some reps this week, and I think it's going to be a fun drubbing of the team formerly known as the New England Patriots.
So. What's
Monty,
interesting
by playoff shenanigans, you're not referring to that play where the Patriots offensive line was unbalanced and Gronk was lined up in the quote tackle position and the tackle was opposite him in the tight end position and went out for a pass and no one covered it?
It feels like every time the Patriots are in the playoffs, they do something where the league has to adjust the rule books the following season, and I think the Ravens fell victim to that at some point, and I just got a feeling Harbaugh is going to he's going to put the collective foot of the Ravens on the collective throat of the Belichicks, and it's going to be a brutal for the Pod family to watch.
Jake Bailey averages 47.6 yards per punt, and his net is 45.7. I guarantee that's the best net differential in the league. I'd have to double check that, but that's pretty good.
Stats are for losers, Pod. Relish in them.
Well, especially punting stats. By the way, as James is about to hit the injury report, I failed to mention this with the Seahawks because the Seahawks had all those names on the injury report, and I do believe shenanigans are in place because as you're about to find out, James, there was 100% participation in practice yesterday for the New England Patriots on Wednesday. There were
like 20 names on the injury report.
There's a certain number of names that are all limited at practice, but they were all there for the first time. There's no way the Patriots are quote unquote that healthy. So
I'm not going over all the names, just the biggest ones I see. So last thing, I mean, if it's worth anything, this game last season was basically Lamar Jackson's coming out party because a certain someone said, no, he will not go off on us. We will win and prevail. And it turned into a beatdown in which I had to question our super fans who somehow still ranked the Patriots number one after the drubbing they took last season.
I don't
still haven't forgotten that. I know you don't recall this. I do.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Don't recall it happened. It happened.
All right. Well, all right. What's the injuries? Here, I'll tell you. Julian Edelman is out. Sony Michel doesn't matter. Oh, go ahead. Start with the Ravens.
Yeah. So the Ravens have Jimmy Smith, Matt Judon, and L.J. Ford, along with Calais Campbell as questionable. Excuse me. 3 of those are questionable. Calais Campbell is doubtful. Calf strain in Sunday's game against the Colts. Mark Ingram nursing an ankle injury. He was limited in practice on Wednesday.
Which is a shame because he could eat all day. It's a shame.
Well, they have a loaded backfield, but they don't necessarily need him. J.K. Dobbins is playing pretty well.
I know. He's going to eat.
For the Patriots, the first name listed here is Nick Folk with a back injury.
Yeah, Jake Bailey, that punter that Monty was questioning, actually warmed up kicking field goals against the Jets, but Nick Folk managed to, tough it out. So, and then won on a 51-yarder or something like that against the Jets. So, yeah, interesting. Nick Folk will probably still be playing, though.
Tight end Ryan Izzo with a hamstring.
He's the only I'm sorry, he's no longer the only active tight end because the Patriots did acquire Jordan Thomas. Sorry, there's too many Jordan Thomas Howards in the league. They all just.
Jordan Thomas is out. He's on the reserve list because.
He's already out. Oh,
yeah, he's out.
Oh, that's
good. You just acquired him. He can't play.
Oh, we acquired him with plenty of time. I thought he was going to be activated for this game. Well, it doesn't matter. All right, next.
Let's stay on the defensive side of the ball because this is fun. Lawrence Guy and Jawan Bentley.
Yeah, those guys missed the Jets game and are going to be necessary to help at least keep the Ravens under 200 yards rushing. But yeah, it's not good.
Defensive ends Dietrich Wise and John Simon.
Those guys are quote unquote pass rushers. Okay, next.
Carl Davis and Shalik Calhoun.
Yeah, Shalik is a quote unquote pass rusher, and Carl Davis is the guy that they picked up to fill in for Lawrence Guy.
Now, here's something that was uttered during the game on Monday night. The secondary is the best unit of this team, probably by far, and yet they made Joe Flacco look like Joe Montana.
They did.
Three-fourths of the secondary, J.C. Jackson, Cody Davis, and Cal Duggar.
The Davis guy is a nobody. I've never even heard that name before. J.C. Jackson is, after Stephon Gilmore, our best cover guy who struggled in that game against the Jets and then made it up with an interception on some crazy, I don't even know why the Jets were throwing in that particular situation or why they were throwing deep. It's kind of crazy, but he made up for it. J.C. Jackson will be okay. And I think Stephon Gilmore is back for this game.
Yeah, he's not listed on the injury report. Flipping to the offensive side of the ball, your favorite offensive lineman, Shaq Mason.
No, because he's the best offensive lineman that they have. That's troublesome to hear.
Joe Tooney.
What? Why? Okay, that's shenanigans.
I think the whole list is shenanigans. N'Keal Harry, Damian Harris.
So N'Keal Harry apparently came out of concussion protocol. Doesn't matter if he's playing or not. He's terrible. Jacoby Myers, the undrafted free agent, is way better than N'Keal Harry, our number 1 draft pick.
Oh,
terrible.
Gosh. Harris shows here, chest and ankle. Yes, Harry in concussion protocol. And lastly, Isaiah Wynn.
That's a problem because Jermaine Illuminor is his backup and he's hurt too. So the offensive line has been banged up for the Patriots. I will say that. And that has led to a lot of the problems. But the other problem is that they don't have wide receivers and Cam Newton can't throw. It's a bad combination.
All I got. Monday night.
He's gone from Superman to Captain Underpants. With that arm is a wet noodle sometimes on throws over 15, but that's okay.
He's also, despite the fact I know there's a press conference where Bill Belichick said this team hasn't lost their confidence. Cam Newton has lost some of his confidence. He does not feel confident throwing the football. And I don't know if that's just because he doesn't have a full grasp of the offense at this particular point in time, but you can tell that he's questioning throwing the football when he throws the football.
Watch his arm angle and the way he clutches when he's got to throw the ball over 15 yards. It's a dip. It's very weird because remember they were working on his mechanics at the beginning of the year, right?
Right.
It's just something weird. I don't know. I saw it at the end of last year, especially in the Saints games. The Saints are beating the crap out of him, but I don't know if he's just got a lot of Ben Roethlisberger type injuries that eventually come back to roost middle of the year every year, going forward. I don't know, but that throwing motion is odd.
Monday Night Football. I can't believe we've gone over 2 hours. What am I talking about? Of course we went over 2 hours. Monty's on the show. The Minnesota Vikings are at the Chicago Bears. The Vikings jumped from 25 to 18 in the power rankings. What? And the Bears continue to hang out in the middle of the pack. They move from 15 to 16. Vikings are favored by 2.5 points. And, you guys were talking about the Chargers and we've mentioned the Falcons, but 8 of the 9 games played by the Chicago Bears this season have been within 1 score in the fourth quarter. And so this team also has a little fourth quarter-itis in them. Is that a Nick Foles thing? Or, I don't necessarily think that's a quarterback thing. So again, I don't know if switching to Nick Foles was the right move here for the Chicago Bears, but I'd be curious to hear why you guys are taking the Vikings here, Monty.
Please, let's show the man some respect. He prefers to be referred to as BD Nick. So let's get that out there out front. I think I'm going with the Vikings because Dalvin Cook is a man's man. I've watched that guy play a few games. He is tearing up the league right now. And I don't have any confidence in the Bears whatsoever. I do kind of like Dalvin Cook, so I'm going that route.
Dalvin Cook does lead the league in yards, 858, and touchdowns with 12, Doc.
He hasn't played every game. Didn't he take a couple games off?
Yeah.
I'm not taking anything away from Dalvin, but that offensive line are making huge frickin' holes right now. They're all jiving right now, and they're as much responsible for his MVP-like status as his kind of elusiveness. So I think they're on a run right now, and I think that if they beat the Bears by more than a touchdown, this is the beginning of the end of the Nagy era in Chicago.
Yes, that's interesting. James, what do you got on this one?
Look, since
other than you hate Kirk Cousins.
I'll get to the Minnesota Cooks real soon, because that's basically what they should be named. Look, the Bears, since going to Nick Foles, are 2-4, and right now Mitchell Trubisky, even though he's on the injury report, is doubtful, is probably somewhere in the back of his mind saying, "See, should have left me in there." But the issue is that consistency with this offense. And that's a huge problem. In the first 3 games that they won, they were down double digits going into the fourth quarter. And every single one of these games, yeah, they became one-score games when they won, but they went in down 10-plus in every single fourth quarter of the first 3 games against the Lions, Giants, and Falcons. You're looking up at the scoreboard, and you're thinking, there's no way they're going to pull this out, only to find out when the final scores are posted, they somehow won. After that, it's just been a crap show. And yeah, the Falcons game is when Nick Foles took over, but he was abysmal against the Colts. He was mediocre against the Bucks, subpar against the Panthers, and abysmal the last 3 weeks against the Rams, Saints, and Titans. And the Titans was probably the first game where the offense failed to do anything, because the one positive you could say about Nick Foles being injected as a starter is that at least the offense has consistency and they're scoring with more regularity throughout the game than they were with Trubisky, because the offense wasn't scoring until the fourth quarter with Trubisky at quarterback. And with Nick, they were actually getting first and second quarter scores. But now, I mean, I don't know what to make of this team. The defense is carrying them, obviously, but you can't rely on this defense to do it all. And they're gassed halfway through the season, and it showed against the Titans. Yeah, they made some big plays. They try to keep it as close as possible, limit the Titans as much as possible, try to contain Derrick Henry as best they could. But the outcome was the same. And look, they could try to do some of that same stuff against the Bears and remove Dalvin Cook from the game plan and put it on Kirk Cousins. I would probably be their best way to win the game. But I don't see how anybody in the offensive staff of Minnesota even deems it worthy to let Kirk throw the ball more than 20 times a game unless they're down 20 points. And I don't see the Bears going up 20 points. So in Dalvin, we trust.
Yeah, there's definitely not going to be we're up 2 scores feel to this game, although I say that, and watch, somebody will go up 2 scores. The Bears have won the past 4, so they've swept the Vikings over the past 2 years. And I'm pretty sure the Vikings have been better than the Bears the last 2 years in regards to their final record.
No.
No?
The Bears won a division 2 years ago.
Okay.
2 years ago, the Bears won a division. And last year, they were a game or so better than the Vikings. Both teams missed the playoffs.
All right. Well, there you go. I don't know. I hear everything you guys are saying, but Matt Nagy is 4-0 against the Vikings, and that means a lot to me, at least, when the coach himself is undefeated against a team. I don't feel confident about it. I do think it's going to be a pretty close game, but I'm going to take the Bears in this one. And again, I want to have every reason in the world to take the Vikings over the Bears. I just don't feel confident that the Vikings can win this game. And I'm not saying that it's a must win for the Vikings, but it's, they have to win this game if they want to be competitors and look at any sort of postseason hope.
Look, my big concern is the way the Vikings have jettisoned all the big name talent since the beginning of this calendar year. And yet is somehow still in games. So again, that goes to the head coach, coaching these young guys up to get them to play well enough to be in these games. No secret, I despise Kirk Cousins as a quarterback. As long as they limit his opportunities, they should win. The Bears are their own worst enemy ultimately. And yeah, I don't feel comfortable picking either of these teams. But
maybe you could have a tie.
Have a shot. I mean, possibly, but I mean, this is a must-win for either team if they want a shot at even sniffing a wild card. So,
well, the Bears will still be at 500 if they lose. The Vikings, if they lose,
no, they're both 3-5.
No.
Yeah,
no, the Bears are 5-4.
Oh, sorry,
the Vikings are
5-4. Sorry. Apologies.
So, yeah.
The Bears are 5-4.
There's always a chance now they're going to let 15 teams from each conference in the playoffs.
Let's not investigate that too much more. Let's fight against that as much as we possibly
Why would you do that, Doc?
Oh, God.
We can't let them continue to think that that's going to happen. All right. So, Doc, who do you got? Because James and Monty are going with the Vikings. I'm going with the Bears.
Vikes.
All right. I'm alone on an island. I like it. Me and the power rankings taking the Bears. By the way, Vegas favors the Vikings 2.5 points. The Ravens only by 7. So put all your money in the Ravens.
For the Vikings, Cody Dantzler, the corner, is on the injury report. And for the Bears, I already mentioned Trubisky is doubtful. Sharik McManus, the safety. Sam Mustipher, the center. And David Montgomery, running back, are all questionable for the week.
Nextfanup@gmail.com. You can email us like Gary did at NFU Podcast on Twitter, Facebook.com/NFU Podcast. A great way to continue the conversation. You can catch Doc's recipes there. I know I still owe you last week's recipe, so I'll make sure I get that one. And
I'll get it to you. And also one more plug there, buddy.
Yeah.
We've got 2 copies of Love Zach. And I'm still reading this thing. A phenomenal book. This is a high school football player that had CTE, and written by a great writer, Reed Forgrave out of Minnesota. But this is about a high school player who lost his life to suicide from CTE, growing up in the era of Gridiron Warriors, and it is so incredibly well written. If you want one, email pod at the aforementioned email address, and we'll have it mailed to you from Algonquin Books. But I'm still reading this thing. I'm halfway through. It's my Tuesday night, get my decaf Americano and sit there and read some of the best writing I have seen in a decade. And it's a great, great football book. And if any of you guys want one, send me an email, but we got some here for the listeners. So
nextfanup@gmail.com to get a wonderful prize. Thanks, Doc, for sharing with us all. Nextfanup.wordpress.com is also where you can get Doc's recipes, and you can see the cumulative power rankings. I think I owe you last week's power rankings on the website too. So for Doc, for Monty, and for James, and all the super fans, have a lovely weekend. Here's Kofi Annan. There you have it.
Dear friends and colleagues, saying goodbye is never easy. I believe we can all feel proud of what we have done together, and through it all, you have maintained your professionalism and commitment and remained true to the spirit of the Charter. That principle.
We go out, we hit people in the mouth.